Hi all, welcome back. I'm Vishwanath. In last couple of videos, we have seen how to create a Springboot REST API, which was integrated with Lombok HATEOAS H2 GPA, and as well as a Swagger Hall actuators and validations and exceptions. So, uh, just to recap, whenever we are trying to create a user, we have ensured that the exception message will be a map kind of it which will have like a key value pairs. A key is a field and value is the message on which it was missing. So if we and in this video, in continuation to the exceptions, we will also be creating or we will be working on testing for the REST API. First, let's see on exceptions. So let's go to the exceptions. Over here, we have created the bad request, uh, and inside the postman, if I say as a one, we have not handled a method called a request method not support. So how quickly we can handle that is we can write a class. We can say that it is going to 405 method instead of bad request. If you see bad request, it is 400, and for 405, it is a method not allowed, is an annotation that we would be using, and the class that we are interested is HTTP method exception. So let's import that class. And uh, it is not going to have anything. Instead, what we would be saying is error details dot put, and we would be saying like this is our exp exp. So we will be saying as an error message, error message. So as soon as we declare that, so semicolon was missed. So because it is a string type, it is expecting to take as a string. So those are the changes. And now let's go to the postman and let's see instead of this, is it going to give a proper message as this? So request method is not supported. That is what we wanted. And also, if you want to handle any other exception, uh, we can also write the customized exception saying as so, instead of saying as a bad method, uh, we can say as bad request. We can say as request timeout conflict. Okay, for now we'll say as uh, internal server error, which is 500. Let's say as internal error, and instead of this we will be saying like all exceptions to handle all exceptions. So that remains as it is. So if we go for internal server exception, it is no longer as this. Instead, it is going to be same as, similar to this where it is going to create as. So, so in that way, we have handled all the exceptions. Now we will start with uh, writing the test cases. So we will be going for our test module where we have user app, and I'm going to create a new class, and I'll call as user API test. So, so before we start, let's check the dependencies. Do we have anything related to the testing? So we can say as a JUnit and JUnit, JUnit, JUnit. So that we get a JUnit jar, JUnit dependency uh, onto it, and we can see that it is small j, not a capital J, and when we save it, there is no compilation errors. And let's go to now JUnit package. The reason why we have added JUnit is I'm going to use an annotation called as run with, which is coming from JUnit package, and I'm going to say this is a Spring Runner class, Spring Runner, Spring Runner class, and also I'm going to add one more Spring Boot annotation, so that I will be mentioning where my actual uh, uh, application class is, so that whenever my JUnit kickstarts, it will be calling my actual Spring class, Spring Boot class, which is hosted in this package. So it takes an argument as classes, where I would be saying the class name, and along with that I'll be mentioning my web environment, and I would be mentioning that as a random port. It can pick any random port, and um, so over here I am also interested in creating a variable as a port, provide int port, and I would be auto wiring this port as a local server port, which I will be picking it from test annotation. So, and I need an instance of uh, rest template, private instance of rest template, uh, private final test rest template, uh, rest temp equal to new rest template, private instance of it. I'm importing the rest template, and and again I'll be requiring HTTP headers, uh, where I'll be calling this as a headers equal to new headers. So new HTTP headers, and I'm importing HTTP headers. So I'm importing new HTTP headers, and again I'm interested in uh, writing further unit tests where I'll be saying like I need to create I need to create an user object, provide final user equal to my new user. You can use even mock templates. For now, I'm just using direct object instances, and when we are using like REST templates, we have a method called inside this REST template we have a class called exchange method. That is typically going to take like four parameters. First one is the string, second one is a HTTP method, third one is a HTTP type, and fourth one is basically the response object. So I'm going to use my third method over here. The first one is going to take my URI. So in order to create a URI, I'm I'm trying to say like a method which is say as which will be an URI object to load my URI that I'm going to pass as a string, and that is going to return my URI where I'm going to use like string dot format and HTTP localhost. And I'm going to, because I'm having like a string formatter, I'm trying to have a placeholders for uh, two things. One is the port and another is the URI that a user is going to send. And uh, in I can also initiate this class the values I, which I can say as which will return nothing as a load user initially, where I can say like headers. My headers are going to have like set content type, uh, set set content type. So basically, I'm interested in taking content type as a JSON, uh, media, which which will be part of media type media type dot application dot JSON. And along with that, I'm interested in populating the user details. So username as user name, and user dot we have name, date of birth, we have uh, local date uh, of these are the placeholders where I can say as 1990, very old user, 11 and 12 as is date of birth, user dot we are again setting email as test mail.com, and we are again going to set the address details. So once we create it, now let's start writing our test case, uh, which is going to be a public void uh, one valid user. So for a valid user, we can say like uh, create. Create is a method that I'm going to test. So over here, I'm interested in uh, uh, final response entity because most of my methods are of response entity, and I'm going to make it as a generic. So I have passed as an object instead of a user, where I'm going to get it from my rest template object. Uh, with an exchange method where it is going to take four parameters. First one is the URI. So uh, for the URI, I'm going to use like a load URI method, mm, where I'm going to say like my URL is be the users, and the method that I'm interested is HTTP. Uh, HTTP method that which I'm interested is post, and new HTTP and entity. I'm going to take a new HTTP entity that is going to take two arguments. First one will be my class, and second one will be the header. First one will be my user, and second argument is going to be my header information. And finally, because I said like I'm going to make it as a generic instead of user, I'm mentioning it as a class. Uh, so what we are interested to test is assert or asserts are equal, assert are equal, and what I'm going to test over here is whenever it is going to be created uh, for my reply, I am going to get my status code value. Uh, so status code that has a method called value. So that is going to be my 201, and again I'm going to see whether my method holds. Um, I'm going to use not null uh, to check whether my headers are present or not. Reply dot get headers. Get headers. I inside the headers, I'm expecting a location. Get location. Uh, so I'm expecting whether that is present or not. This is my first case. In order to you know say like it, this is the test case. We have to use test annotation. Okay. Yeah. So uh, this is my uh, method, and if we are optionally, we can say like if we have a lot of test cases, we can order the test case. In order to order the test case, we have to use annotation on the top, which is called as test method order, and again the value that we have to pass within uh, this one is order annotation, which is present in the method one, not the class one, class level. So dot class, because we are interested in doing inside a method. So in that way we can say like for this the order is going to be one. So oh, and we have written the test case for create. Now let's do it for uh, retrieving the users, for retrieve one user for a given ID. So the URL that I'm interested is to pass a one, and it is going to be my get method where I'm going to say that the status code is going to be a 200, uh, and again I'm going to write another test case where I can say my order is 2 or 3. I can uh, s- set it where retrieve all instead of one. I'm going to retrieve all users. Again, this is going to be a get method where I'm going to say like it is going to retrieve all users, and the status is again going to be 200. And now we can write two more test cases where we can say that uh, two more test cases covering like update where I have to take my user details, user dot set username updated name. So one of the fields I'm trying to update, and the method that I'm interested is put method, and the response that I'm going to get is 202. Let's double check it. Controller for add put method accepted is 202. Yeah, we can still use HTTP accepted instead of saying as 202. So HTTP accepted, likewise HTTP okay. Uh, okay, if we go to the controller, we can see OK method. Inside this, it says as a HTTP OK. It should be capital O and capital K. Uh, Likewise, for the other method, instead of 200, I can say as a HTTP OK. And for this, I can say as created. Instead of 201, I can say dot created. Uh, so user is going to be updated, and now another method where I'm going to say uh, user to be deleted, update delete user, update user, all retrieve one user, retrieve all users. So I'm just trying to add, make it consistent, delete users. So basically it takes, uh, this will be my delete method, and the status that I'm because no content is what which is going to return like 404, uh, yeah, 204, not 404. 204 is going to be expected when I'm going to call this user. But the methods, if you see it, um, I'm going to test it for one user, the user that is created, updating the user, and then loading the user, deleting the user. So, so let's run the testing now, JUnit testing pack. So we can see like there is a console called JUnit console, and inside the console we can see uh, the results. So we can see like it is finished, but the reason is this method is hanging around without any annotation. So we can just say like we want to invoke this for every method. Uh, so let's run now. So let's run it one more time, and let's take the view of console preferences. Sorry, go to show view console so that we can see if something is being printed. Yeah, so we can see that um application started running because we have mentioned like it should start user application whenever like tests are going to start. And over here we have also mentioned that it has to pick the random port. And yeah, over here we can see like 201 created, but we got 201. So for this particular one, if we see the status is 201. So we have expected like 201 created, but we have mentioned as 201. And over here also 200, okay. We have mentioned as 200. Uh, if you see it, all the messages are the same, 200 okay, because it is extra taking the content. Um, so what we can do over here is we can tweak this created dot. So all I wanted to get the value method for all this. Uh, that's a small tweak that I'm going to add to all the methods. And once I am done with that, and again I'll rerun the cases, and let's see what's happening in the console. Application has started, and in JUnit we can see now all the tests has run successful. We will also be we should also write the test cases in order to cover the non-valid scenarios, which we will be looking into the next video. Thank you.